Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to share with you something that is dear to my heart. Now, everyone is a leader, and it is the one who willingly and passionately collaborates and serves to build a legacy of leadership no matter the odds, will be able to bring integrity and excellence as a team. Today, I would like to share with you becoming professionally informed, a professional learning community. Now, my presentation will be looking at three parts: the exposition, the unraveling, the resolution. Now, a teacher can never truly teach unless she is learning herself. And a lamp can never light another flame unless it continues to burn its own flame. Now, I believe that everyone understands this and believes in it. Now, let's look at the first part, the exposition, and how it all began. Let me share with you a story that happened way back in November 2013. A group of school leaders were called to attend a workshop on forming a learning community. A whole bunch of terminologies were used, and all I could think about was, who introduced those terms? How did they come to such a compilation of activities? Sadly, for the presenters, they could not answer my questions because they received all the information through a workshop that did not provide the much needed answers. My curiosity remained a puzzling question mark. Then, in late 2017, I was given a number of someone who was a key reference for this subject matter. I was interested in it. At last, I thought to myself, I would have answers to my puzzles. But unfortunately, it would appear I was not asking the right questions. I did not get the answers to my questions. In fact, new questions arose, and I was left thinking, is this learning community really a boon, or is it a bane to my existence? Now, on reflection, I decided to study this subject deeper and search the World Wide Web on anything that is related to it. A ginormous array of information came flooding into my screen and downloaded into my trusted Mac. However, the specific terminologies as to the strategies and the accompanying tools were mentioned by different experts, but none captured them in the diagram that was presented in 2013. I was thankful because I had friends who gave the materials such as a book from a division under the Ministry of Education. I had never seen the book before that day, and lo and behold, there it was, the diagram with everything that was presented. I flipped through looking for the source. It was just a mention by so-and-so. But I was not happy. I wanted to know, who was the actual expert underlying all the strategies and tools recommended? Why did the person come up with the arrangement? What were the outcomes? The question played out in my mind, more questions than answers. Another wonderful acquaintance asked what I was interested in at that point in time. And I told him that my passion and my proposed study at that moment. He asked for my email, and the next few days I received so many online books on the subject matter that I asked God to bless him for that kind generosity. Thank you, Dr. Razak. Now, my study showed one similarity that each of my research participants had. They did not realize what they were doing all along had documented labels attached to them. In fact, although a few knew about PLC then, they also did not make the connections. The 5 PLC strategies were reflective dialogue, deprivatization of practice, collective focus on students' learning, collaboration, and shared values and vision. These strategies are aptly labeled to represent sets of tools that can be used in my learning process. This process can be any areas of interest: language, linguistics, social sciences, and more. The diverse scope of the strategies are to help enhance learning, collaboration, and achievement of set goals. Therefore, in this sharing, I put forward the idea of becoming professionally informed through the use of the PLC strategies. So what does becoming professionally informed mean? Let's break down the 2 words in layman's terms. Professional, the craft that we are trained or educated for and have mastered the qualities and skills attached to that craft for most part of our working life. Professionally means those actions carried out by people with specific skills and qualifications. Informed suggests having a lot of knowledge or information about something. Therefore, becoming professionally informed suggests becoming knowledgeable about the craft that we have been trained for. In the context of this address, it will be becoming knowledgeable about the craft that we have been trained for through the culture of PLC. Being empowered and engaged in professional dialogue among team members will give them the confidence to describe their experiences using the PLC terms as prescribed by MOE. So is PLC a boon or a bane? Now PLC is something new and foreign. It's a foreign concept to many people and it's not much reviewed. It's actually needing a deeper understanding of how the dimensions of a PLC might actually enhance the school culture. And so we need to look into this. There is also a lack of research evidence on PLCs, and in the Asian region, basically leadership practices are not much research into. So again, there's little research that actually looked at assessing a school's progress using the prescribed PLC strategies. There is also a lack of studies on the way school leaders introduce, implement, and sustain PLC. Therefore, there is a need for data on the use of PLCs in secondary schools in Sabah to ensure that learning, collaboration, and also results are achieved. And so a PLC is a group of educators that meets regularly, shares expertise, and works collaboratively to improve teaching skills and the academic performance of students. I have shared with you the first part of my presentation. Now let's move on to the second part, the unraveling. What is professional learning community and how do we sustain this? And therefore, let's look at how we can be professionally informed. Now, in the case of Malaysia, the World Bank did a research and they found that in the past 13 years, there have been a decline in the results for the teams among school children. And so there is a need to look into how we can improve further. And so that's why PLC becomes a top priority to be introduced in schools, into all schools practices in Malaysia. And so it should be a school-based initiative it's part of the professional development. Now, in the case of China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, as well as Singapore, they have also introduced PLC, but they have practiced it in different ways to suit their context. And so let's take a look at what and how PLC has transformed through the ages. And we need to look at the Anglo-American background. And so it all started in 1981 through the National Commission of Excellence in Education, whereby they found that it is a nation at risk, and so they need to do something. Now, why is the nation at risk? Because they found that in schools there was no collaboration, and basically everybody was very protective of their teaching and learning strategies, their methodologies, and there was no sharing at all. And so they actually looked at SONJ, learning organization, to look for the answer. And so they found that looking at collaboration and looking at a whole lot of dimensions for PLC, they found that something does work. And so it moves on to the different years whereby different experts and different researchers have found that yes, PLC does have an impact, and therefore they need to be more study and a collective effort towards ensuring that changes come to be. And so they also look at the principals' roles, and they also look at the PLC strategies. And so it all comes to be that the term PLC was used by Hord. And so here we come to the fact that for continuous improvement to happen and to be maintained, therefore there need to be a collaborative effort from all parties. And so my journey into looking at what PLC is all about brought me to past studies on qualitative methodology, and these are the three examples that I've shown you. And also from SABAH itself, we have one study by Ansari and Pang, and in terms of the quantitative study, we have a few researchers from the Asia Pacific region. And so these are the things that we need to look into. And in terms of mixed methods studies, we have a few examples here, and so these are the things that we need to actually look into to help us build on our knowledge and to be informed on the matters of PLC. And there is also one research which is just a literature review, and the whole study is based on the historical background of PLC itself. And so for my part, I have contributed a few research studies, and this is what I hope to build on and also share with the community of educators in SABAH itself. Now, looking at the background of PLC, now Cruz et al. Introduced the types of PLC. She said that it's basically there are two types. It's firmly embedded in school community, so they need to be support and they need to be motivation to overcome tight resources. And there shouldn't be any isolation among the teachers when they are planning their teaching and learning strategies. And so we need to also look at time constraints and other obstacles to having PLC as a school culture. And so the other type would be looking at a community-fostered initiative by professional networks and other organizations beyond school. And we also have to understand that when Dufour et al. Introduced the PLC structure, this clearly shows that there is an interdependent collaboration among teams of different grades in the school. And so what happens will be that the teams will have reflective dialogue to ensure that they have a common shared purpose, they have shared vision, as well as collective commitments towards a shared goal. So, ladies and gentlemen, understanding this structure as well as understanding that there are different types will help us understand what PLC and how it can be managed better. And let's now reflect on what we have learned so far. Now, from 1993, Dufour used the term learning communities, and this was followed by Fullen, who introduced that learning is a way of life. And then, in 1997, Hort introduced the term professional learning communities, and this was followed up by Dufour and Ecker in their journey towards looking at professional learning communities in 1998. And so this that I mentioned earlier, and this was found in the book given by Bahagian Pendidikan Guru, which is under the Ministry of Education, Malaysia. And so if you look at the strategies, the 5 strategies and the underlying tools that they promote, this is what the diagram has shown us. So from reflective dialogue, we have study groups, we have using discussion protocols, we have book clubs, we have video critics, and then we have deprivatization of practice under peer coaching, lesson study, the learning walks, and also teacher sharing sessions. And we have collective focus on student learning, we have data analysis, and we have critical focus groups, we have also curriculum mapping, as well as common assessment. And in terms of collaboration, we have these four tools to look into. And for shared vision and values, we also have these underlying tools. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember my curiosity on PLC when it was first introduced in 2013? Well, let's look at what 3 school leaders said when I asked them the same question, what they know of PLC. Now, well, honestly, at our PPD, we were inducted with PLC in 2014, but actually, I learned of the term somewhere else. It was introduced to me when I actually attended the course run by Institute Aminuddin Baki. The course was specifically more on curriculum, but the presenter, the lecturer at that time, was also sharing with us the impact of PLC in helping to develop our curriculum. So I've learned a few terms of PLC at that time, not really knowing some of the terms that have been practiced, been mentioned before. So today, I've learned a little bit more about PLC as well. Now another school leader said, I do not remember which year it was, but there was, for this school, for this district, we were called to attend briefings. However, at that time, only the senior assistant for administration was able to attend from our school. Now, another school leader said, I think when it was introduced in 2014, we were not really exposed to PLC. If I am not mistaken, teachers were called, but no courses were given to principals, and therefore, like myself, I don't really have a very clear understanding of what PLC is. What we know is that we have to submit reports and deadlines were given. Now this is the case. 3 school leaders have given their point of view and different perspectives were shared. And so, what is the implication here for us to look at? Now, I've also asked school leaders from different divisions to look into how the PLC culture has developed in their school. And so, only 13% mentioned that they have a matured PLC, and 51% actually are starting their journey, and 33% are working to re-establish PLC in their schools, and 3% stated that they have not started yet. Now this study was based on how they perceive PLC itself, and whether they have actually carried out the strategies mentioned or any one of the tools under the strategies given. So the implications would be they need to be more practiced so that we can perform our duties and also to share what we understand about PLC itself, and each member of the school need to actually commit themselves to the initiative, and it must be a collective effort. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to just share from 3 divisions what they did before. So from the Tower division, they were looking at deprivatization of practice, looking at lesson study, learning walk, and peer coaching, and teacher sharing session, and then reflective dialogue, book clubs, and video critique, as well as collective focus on student learning, focusing on data analysis. And in the interior division, they were looking more on deprivatization of practice. Now from the West Coast, they are looking beyond that, because they are looking at high impact practices, for example, for the Malay language, looking at how they can use composition to help students improve on their writing. And so there are many different activities and initiatives done by all the divisions, and SABAH, I am proud to say, has continued to show very good progress on the PLC culture. And so PLC itself is conducting at varying levels, and so we need to look at the fact that because there were different ways of introduction and different levels of understanding, therefore the practice of the strategies would understandably be different as well. So more focus was given to deprivatization of practice, reflective dialogue, as well as collective focus on the students' learning. And then we also need to look at how we can share PLC, the progress that they have made, and so we need to ensure that schools are able to get their hands at the reports so that they can learn from others as well. Now this is something that is lacking at this moment, so we need to ensure that schools actually are given the resources to ensure they improve on their understanding of the initiative. And we need to also look at the roles of the district education office, and also ensuring that there is continuous support. They need to be the initiator of change. They need to ensure that they review the process, and so they need to be to enable others to act in terms of how to monitor the progress. And we need to also look at the expert support. So who are the experts here? We do have the school improvement specialist coaches, and these coaches are the best to ensure that they help out with the teachers, because these SISC are trained in carrying out their duties, and so they would be a great help to ensuring that PLC, the culture of PLC, be institutionalized. And so they need to be promotion of research on PLC itself, so that we learn from the best. Okay, so that therefore we need to look at the PPD and also how they can come together and ensure that continuous professional development is maintained and the reach to everybody is also wide. Okay, so now if we look at professional learning and what we need to do, we need to sit down and think about it and to plan the action for future PLC initiatives, so that there is a continuous effort to ensure that it is sustained in the schools themselves. Okay, so now, if you look at the school leaders' roles, there is a list that was derived from the themes that were mentioned in the study that I performed. And so this list, looking at it, it's actually very wide, okay, and it shows that the school leaders need to understand and actually participate actively to assume the varied and multiple roles in ensuring and in creating the PLC culture. They need to be increased awareness to enhance informed knowledge on PLC itself, and they need to be better understanding so that it leads to better sharing and improved teaching. Now, school leaders need a refresher course on PLC itself. Now, I'm not sure how far this has been done, but there has been effort for sure. And you hear people mentioning PLC is being done, oh, our PLC is like this. But do people really understand what PLC means? Because remember, on reflection, in the earlier days when I asked people, what do they understand by PLC? They say it was actually attending courses. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know that that's not the case. Okay, it goes deeper than just attending courses. All right. So now, I would recommend studies on these 5 aspects, because if we are to look at how we can move from here, okay, from PLC today to tomorrow, therefore we need to create more understanding, and this will come from conducting studies on different levels. And these are my suggestions for those who are interested. Now, the most invaluable resource that all teachers have is each other. Without collaboration, our growth is limited to our own perspective. And so, I believe that we need to look at what we can do. And so, remember, we need to document our journey so that we also can reflect and also share our best practices. Now, in the Institute of Teacher Education Gaya campus, we have a lot of initiatives on professional learning community. For example, we have dedicated every Thursday morning to actually have PLC sessions in the various departments, and then for each month on a Thursday, we will ensure that we come together and share those best practices from the varied different departments. And so these are also examples from SABAH itself, from the success stories from SABAH. And so the first one that I would like to highlight will be the Sensei. This was introduced in 2021, and I was happy to be called as a member. And what we did was to ensure that we come together and we discuss issues, and we discuss the best plan of action. And so Sensei stand for I search for and seek for education information. And so that's a wonderful journey to take, and I do hope that my sharing today will inspire school leaders to look at their practices, their current practices, and to look at how they can improve on their PLC initiatives. And today itself, okay, yesterday and today under ICLALIS itself, we have 4 different units coming together. We have UMS, we have Gaya, we have Kent, and we have International coming together. So isn't this wonderful? We are sharing our best practices, and this is the way forward for education. Yes, we know that online learning is the way to go now during this pandemic, but we need to also look at how we can harness our expertise and how we can move on from here to ensure to ensure future teachers are also brought into the picture, and they will also benefit and learn and also think of creative new ideas for future generations to benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the third part of my sharing, which is on the resolution. We do know that creating a PLC culture is not easy, but it's not impossible. First of all, we need to ensure that everyone understands the theory underlying PLC itself, the concept itself. And then once we understand the concept, we need to ensure that it is transferred or transformed into practice. There's no point for us to understand what is PLC, but do not practice it well. And when we say well, it is not just, oh, what PLC have you done? Oh, we attended courses. No, that is not the answer. We need to have people who are informed as to the strategies and to the tools. You may have different strategies, you may have different tools. The point is that you are able to introduce them and to talk about them and to ensure that you can share your ideas professionally to others. So that is what I'm trying to highlight here. And for school leaders, your job is very crucial. I know you have a whole lot of things to do, but try to focus on how we can improve on introducing, on promoting, and ensuring that PLC become a culture in your school. Because if it is started, it is practiced, then you will have a whole lot of answers to challenges that you face in the teaching and learning process. Now for JPN, PPD, for the State Education Department, for the District Education Officers, and for the SISC+, we need to ensure that we have a joint effort to ensure that we plan well for our school leaders as well as for the teachers. And for us in the Institute of Teacher Education, we need to look beyond. We need to not only see our role as the trainers for the teachers in the current school system, but we need to also look at our students, the pre-service students. We need to also induct them so that they understand what the PLC culture involves and what it means, so that they might be able to practice that when they really are placed in the schools. Alright, so now how do we sustain? I've been talking about how we can sustain, and ICLALIS itself is a means to ensuring we sustain by sharing our best practices. So continuous professional development in whatever forms they may come will help teachers and will help educators ensure that we continue to help PLC develop and become something that might help us find the answer to improving students' performance. And so how do we achieve this? As I mentioned, surpass it. We need to serve with passion and integrity as a team, because we need to surpass all challenges, because together everyone achieves more. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as our former Director General for Education, Dr. Amin Samin mentioned, leaders must learn from others, be flexible, not dogmatic. When looking at core values, they must be sharp, they must be brilliant, they must be optimistic and have strong moral values to serve. These qualities are important due to leaders are the source of motivation and inspiration. What more can I say, ladies and gentlemen? Alright, so we need to ensure that every member has something to contribute. Don't feel that you are so little, you don't have much. But if you can look at the examples around us, and this is what I would like to highlight to you, the impact of collaboration for Gaya campus, we have managed to perform and attend different functions in different countries, and we have gone to Germany, we have visited Singapore, we have also gone to United States, New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, of course, our home country. We have gone to Japan, China, South Korea, Thailand, and Brunei, and more. So this is what we need to look at, the value of collaboration. Now in sum, let me just summarize a bit about what I have shared with you. Now yes, the PLC strategies are good, they are wonderful, and they are very impactful, and we need to look at the 5 dimensions. We need to look at the 5 strategies and the underlying tools. We need to ensure that there is collaboration. We need to ensure that there is also support in terms of the structural conditions. We need to look at the supportive conditions that is around us, and we must remember PLC is fluid and it is constantly evolving. And so the roles of school leaders, yes, again we come back to the role of the school leaders. You need to ensure, okay, you need to ensure, and we are here to support you, that there must be empowerment, there must be a commitment, as well as there must be support, expert support in terms of the technical support for PLC to become a culture in your school. There must be also collective responsibility and collegial coaching, and definitely this leadership need to be distributed. That means everyone in your school, in your surrounding, in your community is a leader. So remember, we educators are the gatekeepers of change. Therefore, we must stand together and we must ensure we take action. No matter how much we understand, no matter how much we know, we need to make a stand, we need to act, because that is how we improve. Alright? So, ladies and gentlemen, in the words of one of the school leaders, I'd just like to share, if PLC becomes a culture, I believe teacher efficacy would be given a huge boost, especially in enhancing their teaching and learning process. PLC could be the medium for teachers to share improved methodology and techniques and teaching approaches. I believe that self-efficacy have not contributed much to teachers accepting the new culture in school. For example, the adoption of the 21st century learning in school is still seen as a new entity separated from PLC. I believe if PLC has become a school culture, teachers would not have any problem in implementing the 21st century learning approaches in their classroom. On the last note, PLC is a school culture that encourages collaborative teacher learning to enable continuous improvement to practice. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.